Ever witnessed someone so fast on track you doubt you could ever be on their level? The mission of Advanced Motorsports is to demonstrate the speed is achievable for everyone. With the expertise of some of the best sim drivers in North America, we are set to release free content on social media and comprehensive guides on our website. For those seeking the ultimate experience, our Advanced Motorsport Institute and personalized coaching sessions are the way to go. No matter your level of experience, we invite you to follow us on our social media to learn to be fast.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to RaceSpotTV for the third round of 2024 Season 1 in the Precision Racing League Formula D Series. We are going for a fantastic race at Spa-Francorchamps in the FIA F4 cars here on iRacing. My name is Reese Gardner. Dylan Coyle is with me in the commentary box, and we got Dustin Ollis behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons, making everything happen, bringing you these live pictures. And I'm certainly looking forward to this one, Dylan. Tsukuba was a pretty action-packed race last time out, and a track that these drivers probably wouldn't be very familiar with, but we're coming back to a sense of normality here at this Grand Prix venue. It's going to be very fantastic, and bringing back some of that draft fest racing that we've come to know and love in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're talking about anything to do with Spa-Francorchamps, you know it's going to put on a world-class show and a great event with these Formula D machines and Formula 4. You take a look at the schedule. You know, we were, of course, talking about the previous two rounds, but we're still a long ways away from crowning a champion in the 9-round Precision Racing League season.
We are indeed. Remember to mark these dates down in your calendar if you want to catch future races in this series. We're going to the Hungaroring next week, and then the Circuito de Jerez, Silverstone, Okayama, Mount Panorama. I'm really looking forward to that one. Aussie bias showing there, with the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit rounding out the season on the 29th of February. It's a brilliant schedule, this, and mixing up with a bunch of mostly Formula 1 circuits, but a couple of oddball ones that we don't usually see in schedules, like, of course, Tsukuba. And if you have the time, make sure to check out the VOD of that one on the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel, because it was a very entertaining race. Coming out of that race, there was a little bit of a shake-up in the championship standings. Tristan Callahan taking victory from Jake Vasconcelos after a run-in with a lapped car on the final lap. Vasconcelos only finished third, but he still leads the championship by 10 points coming into round 3. Dave Peterson and James O'Brien very close with Clay Harris. O'Brien finishing third last week at Tsukuba. So let's see how much those drivers' standings get shaken up coming out of this round. In terms of the teams championship, well, have a look at that. Viking Hot Rod Racing up on the top of the standings. YS Motorsports down into 4th. They didn't have the best of runs last time out at Tsukuba, so we'll see how well they do here today. But Viking Hot Rods Racing, always a representative team in the PRL, and they'll be looking to consolidate that here at Spa with a 13 point championship lead, I believe. 14. There we go. I can do maths. Of course, what I can do also is thank the sponsors of the Precision Racing League, such as Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. And if you're a member of the Precision Racing League, you get a 5% discount on ASR products. Just use the Precision5 coupon code at checkout. We'd also like to thank Racebox, who offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most particular sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com, and once again, PRL members get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. We also have to thank the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game, feel every nuance, and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. TheButtKicker.com. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. Go to moradness.com. They're also on the socials, Moradness on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They got a Discord as well. Make sure to join it. Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. They do a screenshot dump of PRL races throughout the week, every week. MrHedge.co.uk. And of course, we can't forget Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. They're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. A brilliant roster of sponsors here at the Precision Racing League, making this happen week in, week out. Precision Racing League, one of the largest online racing communities out there, and their Formula D Series has always been a fantastic one in the time I've been viewing it. And here, Dylan, we see the YS Motorsports pair, Kevin McPherson and Jake Vasconcelos, making their way through the Fagnes chicane around the back end of the Spa circuit before they take the long run back to the bus stop chicane and the start-finish line. I think it's good to get some draft practice in now before qualifying and the race gets underway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these two are constantly showing us what it's like to be teammates and what the meaning of good teamwork is, especially in qualifying, where they're both providing each other with chances to get the maximum lap times, one in tail, one in front, each time we go around. And there's no wonder that they're always sitting in a podium spot, at least to start off the race, as we watch with Brandon Walter in that 99 machine going up ready on an Eau Rouge. And beautiful. What a sight. I love this track, man.
Yeah, brilliant elevation changes. Spa has been around since the early 1920s, actually. It was originally supposed to open in 1921 with a motorcycle, with a car race, I believe, but it only received one entry and got cancelled. So Spa's first race was actually a motorcycle race some months later, and the track has been through a lot of changes over the years. This purpose-built section dates from the late 1970s. It has been modified a couple of times over the years, but largely still the same fantastic circuit that it's always been. Walter getting a good slipstream down the Kemmel Straight there off James O'Brien, third place finisher last week at Tsukuba, and he'll be hoping that that's given him a good bit of pace, because he's down in 15th at the moment and he needs a couple of tenths to gain positions.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, it's definitely going to be tough, but 2.5 seconds behind, there's so much room to gain. Counterpoint, it's a big track, so 2.5 seconds, there's a lot of places to gain from it, but there's also a lot of places to struggle, and maybe this gap is a very solid gap, right? One that won't come down that much. I believe it's what, 7.1 kilometers long, 4.4 miles long, American,
Yeah.
all that. So I think that's right. Am I internationally renowned?
You are. Officially, the track length is 7.00, so you're out by 100 meters, but hey, close enough for an American, right?
Yeah, you know what? What is a kilometer? I just provided one extra.
I hear an eagle screeching in the background. Don't worry, I have a lot of trouble converting from kilometers to miles. So we'll see what Walter can do here. 222.9 on that lap. That has indeed elevated him up to 13th spot and promptly spins on the exit of the La Source hairpin. Manas Angalakaguti, meanwhile, in 7th place, and we saw some awesome driving from him last week at Tsukuba, and I believe he finished in the top 10 as well, unless I'm remembering last week's race completely wrong. In the slipstream of Joshua Reed just up ahead. Let's see how he negotiates the twisties at the back end of the track.
Yeah, Manas actually got a top 5 finish in last week's race, so that 27 machine, of course, teamwork right there. We'll see what's exactly going to happen. Oh, that's a little bit too wide. I wonder if this lap time will be invalidated.
Yeah, I think it will be. The Spa's been notorious for its track limits ever since it first got onto the iRacing service in about 2010, 2011. And those track limits have been relaxed a little bit in recent years, but it's still very difficult to complete a lap around here without getting the dreaded off-track 1X. And so I think now Manas's priority is just seeing how far he can push it, because
looks like
this
both
lap
are,
is not...
looks like both are invalidated now.
Yeah, looks like it. So, unfortunately, no improvement for Reed and Galakaduti at the end of the lap. The checkered flag is out in the qualifying session. Anyone who's currently on a lap can finish it. So, we'll see if... let's see who we're looking at here. Kevin McPherson. He's parking it, unfortunately. Yeah, it looks like everyone's done here at the end of the session, apart from maybe Errol Urexoy. Remember some great performances from him in the prototype and GT series that PRL hosts as well. Let's see what the number 63 can do coming up to one of the prime overtaking opportunities of the lap here, the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, this will definitely be a make-or-break moment here. Looks like he gets onto the throttle pretty easily. I wonder if it was a bit too easily. And that's a solid lap time. He gets into the top 5. How about that? An improvement.
Nicely done by Errol Urexoy at the end of the session. He pulls off and lets it go. David Hebert potentially could be on for an improvement as well, but no, he decides to go for the pit lane, and the drivers are going to have to go for the pit lane in the race. There is a fuel tank restriction, so it's good to get your final bit of practice in now. Very difficult pit entry at Spa, very narrow. You can't quite see the limiter line coming up. So, how will they go from these grid positions? The number 10 of Jake Vasconcelos, championship leader, starting from pole position alongside his teammate Kevin McPherson. Tristan Callahan up into 3rd. He'll be looking to go for another victory this week alongside Jason Arensberg, with Errol Urexoy and James O'Brien rounding out the top 6. We go to 7th. Manas Angalakaduti starts alongside Zach Yurt, with Dave Peterson and Clay Harris rounding out the top 10. Donald Olson starts alongside Jason Potter on the 6th row. And then we have Brandon Walters starting in 13th place alongside David Hebert, with Joshua Reed and Justin Cobb on the 8th row of the grid. All alone on row 9 is CJ Conklin. 17 cars taking to the start here at Spa-Francorchamps. I'm looking forward to this one, Dylan. I'm looking for draft packs to be forming, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye on La Source and Eau Rouge at the start of lap 1, because those are definitely the choke points.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is an amazing racetrack for any, series, but especially when you've got the draft-centric race cars of the Formula 4 class in this Formula D PRL series. You're obviously going to see a lot more closeness as we continue on throughout the laps, especially in that first lap. They're going to be rushing up the hill, and then that Camel Straight is going to be a draft fest and maybe a disaster going into the quick chicane.
Yeah, potentially a big disaster there into Lacombe. That is one of the places where drivers will try and make up time on the opening lap, but then they need to be careful through the purpose-built section of the track going off the old public roads through it's Rivage. That's it, Rivage. What used to be called Bruxelles, Pouhon, Fagnes, Stavelot, Paul Frere Curve. All those corners incredibly fast and flowing, but you have to be careful not to go too far out of the bounds of the racetrack. Got to be careful not to hit other drivers on the way through as well. We saw a lot of that at Tsukuba and a lot of drivers spinning by themselves. But here at Spa, I think there's a lot more space, and I think they'll be able to recover. At least I'm hoping so.
Yeah, for sure. You hope that. Of course, with a slightly smaller grid, that is more of a concern with these, high-speed tracks, this draft-centric class, that you could potentially see a tumultuous start. But we're just about ready to get going here.
Yeah, we are indeed. Everyone is almost onto the grid. We're missing 2 cars, so we'll see if they jump on in the last 30 seconds of the allotted grid time, and there's one of them waiting for one down at the very end of the field. Could be starting from the pits, or they could be doing the old trick of gridding as late as possible to keep the warmth in the tires. There we go. They're all on here. And the revs rise. We get ready to go for round 3 of the Precision Racing League Formula D Series. Vasconcelos on the front row. A little bit of a jump start already from Jason Arensberg. He got going a bit too early, but the rest of the field gets a clean start. Vasconcelos onto the racing line, coming into the first turn. He is fully clear, but there's side-by-side racing further back. Manas and Galakaduti overtaking Arensberg, who will likely have a stop-and-go penalty, and he has got some technical issues besides, as the field tries their best to fall into line before Eau Rouge. Already Tristan Callahan on the diffuser of Kevin McPherson and looking to make moves up into the top 2.
The biggest problem that Tristan Callahan will have is the teammates will work together and not give that toe to Callahan, McPherson, Vasconcelos. Look at how much of a run and a bit of a block heading in to this set of corners. I mean, it's smart, right? It's 2 teammates working together for now, and there's a wreck.
Yeah, it looks like Angala Kaduti has unfortunately found the wall at Lacombe and lost his rear wing. So unfortunately, that thing's going to have to go straight back to the pits. That is a disastrous start for Manas, but everyone else managing to avoid the worst of it and try and fall into line, apart from Zach Yurt, who goes for a spin.
Big mess!
Oh, wow. It looks like he's actually escaped without any significant damage. That was well recovered.
But watch this right there. Potter just slid kind of into the scene, and I think no wing damage, it appears, but definitely caught that inside barrier, and we rejoined the race lead. A lot of catastrophes happening, and really it wasn't because of anybody else, I don't think.
No, it's drivers making mistakes by themselves on cold tires. We saw that a lot at Tsukuba, and apparently it is not any different here at Spa. But they are back on the old public road section of the circuit here. Vasconcelos, McPherson, and Callahan remaining your top 3. El Urexoil by himself in 4th, but he has a drafting pair of O'Brien and Harris trying to catch him up.
Yeah, it looks like these 3 are going to be in a breakaway. All the credit to Callahan for staying right there on the gearbox of Kevin McPherson. But the question is, how much can he take the fight to the 2 teammates currently sitting 1-2 as some moves are being made in that bus stop chicane and a few drivers heading into the pits. That's going to be Arensberg, who went in there in that 64 machine. No doubt there might be a couple stragglers going in there for the next few laps.
Yeah, I'd imagine Manas as well making his way into the lane to get repairs done after this happened. Oh, it looks like he tried to go for the inside, but tried to back out of it, but the rear end was unloaded at that point.
Yeah, it was just, it's a hard set of corners, right? It's not necessarily as flat as it may seem. You're kind of at the top of the track the entire point, as you see, again, a potential move now from Callahan down the inside through Lecombs, and again, good defense right there. 3 wide.
Oh, yeah. Hello. This is the kind of racing that we expect coming into Lacombe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always the kind of racing you expect from Spa, and open wheel cars just make it look so much scarier than it actually is. As we grab a replay from lap 1, and this is what kind of went. Yeah, that was not fun, but it looks like fine, right? A little bit of damage maybe to that left front portion of the wing, but other than that, it's okay to go.
Yeah, you can't say the same for Jason Potter, unfortunately. It looks like he ended up hitting Zach Yurt, and wow, he ended up making much heavier contact with the wall, and yeah, that's too much damage to the rear wing there. He has been in the pits for the last minute and 25 seconds. I don't think we'll be seeing him come back out again, but hopefully he does, because all positions get points in the Precision Racing League. Every point matters, even though we have half an hour remaining of this 35-minute race. Coming up to the bus stop chicane for the second time, Vasconcelos has got a little bit of breathing room. So does McPherson, but Tristan Callahan, trying that slipstream on the previous lap, will certainly keep their hackles raised as we see more battling coming into the bus stop here. Reed defending from Walter, David Hebert and Justin Cobb trying their best to stay in range, but we'll see what happens when they get to Lacombe. Up into Eau Rouge, our leaders are about to come, and this is where we'll see the big draft happen for Tristan Callahan. And you see he is a little bit further back this time. I think that might actually work to his benefit, because if you're too close to the driver behind, you can't take full advantage of the slipstream. And look at this.
They're both side by sides. A little bit of side draft is going to hurt both of them. It's really going to help Callahan. We'll see how much he's able to close.
It seems like he's closed the gap back up at least as McPherson moves into the lead. Meanwhile, the fighting continues between Harris and O'Brien. Look at that. Brilliant switch back there from O'Brien, and takes the outside around Malmedy to take 5th position. That was a beautiful move.
It was just a brilliantly timed move, and he's going to try and go down the hill and keep that position as this lap continues into its second half. Again, we rejoin the lead, and it's weird, right? We keep seeing the top 2 cars so close together, but so often the teammates are helping each other, right? They're not doing anything that is going to hurt each other. They're still racing. They will take the opportunity if it's there, but Callahan is making it hard for them to, fight comfortably with each other. And kudos to Callahan. Look in the back, though. Yoroxoy is closing. He's closing.
Yeah, 2's company, 3's a crowd, 4 is way too much if you're YS Motorsports. Yeah,
well, true. For us, though.
Yeah, it's a party with bad vibes for the yellow cars in the lead as Vasconcelos takes the lead back from McPherson. Good switch between them at Blanchimont, but Tristan Callahan still sitting there in the slipstream. He's making life very difficult for these guys as he almost sees an opportunity to move up into second here. McPherson has to go wide and give him room, and then slows up behind Vasconcelos to avoid taking out his teammate. And ultimately, that's given Vasconcelos a car length or 2 of breathing room coming onto lap 4, sorry.
Yeah, a little bit of breathing room would be nice. Estimated a probably 15-lap race here. Of course, it's 35-minute timed races in PRL Formula D. And again, look at that gap. It's more interesting this time. It's more, 3/10 back from the lead for Vasconcelos, another 3/10 for Callahan, but we'll see this closing rate. Could this potentially be a point where all 3 of them are side by side? Look at this.
Oh yeah. There's room there for Callahan to try and make it 3 wide, but yeah, he's got a cool head on his shoulders as Tristan Callahan. He knows not to go for the move, and well, there's potential here. for things to get a little dicey. Vasconcelos had to back out there behind McPherson, who had to pinch the car off. And Urexoy is still making his way up to the back of them. I'm looking at the lap times here. Urexoy set a 221.938. All of our top three still in the low 222s. So if they don't start working together and trying to make a gap, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, he's just over 2/10 quicker than Callahan's last lap, over 3/10 quicker than Vasconcelos and McPherson. So definitely some potential as you see that gap. You can visually see it's coming down for sure. And I mean, look at 5th and 6th, Harris and O'Brien. It's not like they're completely out of the fight either, but of course, a lot of things have to go their way in the next 26 plus minutes.
Yeah, indeed. Their lap times are about half a second to 7/10 slower than what the top four are doing at the moment, so they'll have to get the switch done and work together. Meanwhile, you see in the bottom right-hand corner, they're still going at it. O'Brien up the inside through Paul Frere curve. Let's see if Clay Harris manages to draft him back as Callahan is trying his best to make life difficult once more for the YS Motorsport cars. Vasconcelos on the outside into the bus stop moves back into the lead. And considering the pressure they're under from Callahan, I think the YS Motorsport guys are doing very well under that pressure. They're still executing their strategy of switching places. You know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I'll give you the draft here, you give me the draft there. And if it weren't for Callahan, I think they'd be a lot more comfortable about it, but they're still getting it done nicely.
Yeah, they are doing it quite well. It's just each lap, right, you get a little bit more testy. Anxiety starts to play a bit of a part where, okay, it's getting later in the run. We have to be calm. We have to be careful. Look at this. They are side by side again. Callahan, you see that gap. It's going down. McPherson edges ahead just a bit. You have to think now that McPherson is going to, yes, take this lead position. And these two, they're fighting comfortably as we see this battle for 9th. Inside, almost.
Almost, yeah. Looked like Vasconcelos, once again, pinching it on the inside of the corner. That lost him the momentum, and Callahan almost saw a chance to go through. The battle for 9th is looking amazing right now, isn't it? Reed, Walter, and Hebert all together, and Reed going defensive, coming down into Rivage. Seeing that there's a little bit of instability in Brandon Walter's car, and that won't be due to running a different setup. PRL runs fixed setup series, so it's all down to the driver. I think Walter's a little bit less comfortable than Reed is right now. Yeah,
for sure. He definitely is a bit less comfortable. Look at that in third, right? Third in this group. It's the same deal with Callahan, right? Where it's, even though there's not teammates in front, you're just trying to find a spot to pounce in because you do have to pick them off one at a time. Walter is there for the taking for Hebert, but if you put a brash move, too brash of a move, you're potentially hurting your chances at moving into 9th. It's the old Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris at Singapore kind of defense against Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, right? You don't want to necessarily let them get too far in front, as we see again, battle for first. Side by side, this is going to really open the door up for Callahan. Two teammates almost coming together around that bus stop chicane. Callahan smells blood in the water.
Finally might see a chance to dive up into second. Almost side-by-side contact with Vasconcelos. Callahan will take second for the time being. That was beautifully done there. And I think that was a rare demonstration of a bad switch for position. It happened right in the middle of the bus stop chicane, and it cost both YS Motorsport cars time. So now they are the slices of bread on a sandwich. Tristan Callahan is the meat looking to break out.
But you still have to think that these teammates are going to still work together in some way. We got a replay on the top in front as he comes around the bus stop chicane, as well as what you're seeing in P1.
Oh, no.
Just a simple slide and spin, and recollects. Callahan going for P1, has the inside through the first and second part, I should say, of Lacombe, but outside has to cover off some defense there. This is intriguing.
Certainly is. I mean, you mentioned that if you're the third car in a battle, you don't want to make any rash moves. I think timing is a big part of it as well. It's a long race, and we don't know when these drivers are going to be coming in for their mandatory pit stop to top up the fuel tank. So if you're in that position, there's a part of you, and it would be the dominant part in my brain, going, okay, I think it's probably a better idea to just sit behind, make sure that I'm as close to these guys as possible, and wait for the last few laps of the race to make my moves.
You bring up a really solid point there about it it being a long race, but we also have to think about it's a long circuit, so they're only going to see some of these corners only a handful more of times, right? No more than 9 or 10 times will they see, going, Eau Rouge and Radion, right? The bus stop chicane, you're only going to see it 8, 9, 10 more times in this race. So does that play into it as well? Even though you see that clock says 21 minutes, you only are going to get so many passing opportunities through a specific set of corners.
Now, well, one specific set of corners you can pass at is the chicane down here, and Callahan on the racing line takes it beautifully. That's fantastic, but the exit is not with him, and the over-under is on for Jake Vasconcelos. Still defensive to the inside. Oh, Vasconcelos is going to squeeze him. Oh, moves to the racing line just before the braking zone. Callahan managing to keep the inside of the corner, but he was pinched, and he loses momentum on the exit. So I think YS Motorsports is now on its way to getting back into the top two.
Who lives?
Yeah, who lives indeed. Side by side through Eau Rouge and Radion. McPherson takes it. Callahan backing out very wisely.
Man, this is a 2v1 battle where the two are definitely the class of the field, with the one being right there alongside, but those two are working together and trying to win it, with one of themselves in first, one of themselves in second. Just their infighting has, we thought would have Yoroxoi a little bit closer than he is right now. He hasn't gained as much in recent laps. His last lap time was just around the same as Vasconcelos, McPherson, and Callahan. So he's going to need to do a little bit better than that, given the fact that there's probably only 8 or so laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, there's plenty of time, but not many laps. That's, I suppose, rephrasing the point you made earlier, Dylan, about this track being so long. The lap time's 2 minutes and 20 seconds or thereabouts. So you're almost driving in slow motion around here compared to something like a GTP or the Mercedes Formula 1 cars on the service. In these F4s, everything comes just a little bit more slowly. You have a little bit more time to prepare, but you still got to push hard through the corners, and the tires are going through so much. As on the run up to Blanchimont, once again peeking out is Tristan Callahan, and he might try to follow one of them through here at Blanchimont. You don't want to go side by side or 3 wide through here under usual circumstances, but hey, they managed to work it out. And oh, look at that! Defense there from McPherson. He's still trying to keep Callahan behind, but Callahan has the inside for the next corner of the bus stop, and a little bit of oversteer coming off the apex. That puts paid to that run for the time being.
It's so interesting, right? It's defense for one, attack on the other. That's kind of the weird situation we see. That lap from Yoroxoi, if you want to hear about it, was a lot quicker. He just closed in a half second there in that second half of the lap because of that side-by-side infighting, which, again, they do too much of that. Maybe they kind of bring Yoroxoi into it and then almost bait him, right? Maybe that is a good play here. Of course, the first thing is this, where we're going. How about this? Mercedes Force India.
Oh, yeah. Who wins this battle? It's Callahan on the racing line, and just falling behind is Kevin McPherson. Vasconcelos into the lead, but that was entertaining. That could have gone any number of ways, but once again, Yoroxoi is the main beneficiary of all this fighting.
Yeah, but he was not able to really capitalize throughout the Kemmel Straight there. I keep thinking that maybe he'd get the benefit of a 2, 1, or 3 car slipstream, but he isn't. And look at how many tenths he's just all of a sudden lost while there was some side-by-side fighting there. So it's questionable, right? Yuroxoi, it looks like he has the potential to get involved in this fight, but throughout the first sector, it just isn't there for him.
No, it doesn't seem like he's having too good of a time there, but I think it's largely due to the Kemmel Straight. He's not getting the benefit of the draft just yet, but as they slow each other up through the twisties around the back of the lap, that's where Yuroxoi really makes up his time. There's a bit more space now between our top 3, so we might see a little bit of a different permutation of the fight that we've seen going into the bus stop chicane over the last few laps. Callahan has to find his way past Jake Vasconcelos, who's all alone. His teammate has dropped off. He's not getting any help here, and so he'll go straight to the inside of the corner, but very late on the brakes as Tristan Callahan tries his best to hook up the apexes into the pits.
Oh no!
Comes Kevin McPherson. Oh no! They come together! Just like last week at Tsukuba, Tristan Callahan and Jake Vasconcelos have made contact in very different circumstances, but still, that will be something to talk about towards the end of the race. That has completely changed the race for the top 3. Kevin McPherson is now the one with the advantage, and there might be damage repair for Callahan and Vasconcelos coming into their stop. Oh, God, the aerial view tells the story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it completely does. Callahan made the mistake. He tried to accelerate, but was on the curbs. Car was unsettled, and you're just not going to get the same traction that you'd expect to get on asphalt as you would on the curbs. And goodness me, he also did, as we're hearing from producer, watch this. He hit the inside turtle right there, and that kind of sent him higher up on exit than he expected. And oh man, McPherson definitely dodged a bullet right there.
Yeah, he did. That loss of time meant that he had the space to find his way past the incident. So swings and roundabouts. Meanwhile, Walter and Hebert now find themselves battling for 10th spot, and a little bit of a wider line for Walter on the way into Rivage, but he translates that into a great exit from the complex, neither of them really going for the curb. Meanwhile, Vasconcelos, now with some damage, is trying his best to hold on to a top 3 position. Clay Harris is moving up into 3rd. And look at the cars behind here. We've got Dave Peterson, we've got Tristan Callahan also recovering. I'm not seeing much in the way of visual damage on Callahan's car, but if you take a close look at Vasconcelos, you see that the left edge of his front wing is turned up. So he's going to have to get that repaired in the pits if he wants the best performance out of his car.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's such a shame for the battle we were seeing. And, you know, we're talking about anxiety and anxiousness. I mean, Callahan was doing such a solid job of just staying there, not putting really a wrong foot forward, a wrong move. But man, there you had it as Vasconcelos comes down into pit lane to fix that damage, and just shows you hit that inside turtle and can send you up the track and just completely destroy your rhythm. As James O'Brien with a back-to-back fastest lap, he's only 2.5 tenths behind the leader in Yuroxoi. Could James O'Brien potentially steal win here? Of course, McPherson is still in the battle, and he's still gonna, you know, probably benefit when he does come out here, but does that necessarily matter as we see a potential pass for the lead?
Indeed. Around the outside coming into Lacombe, it's a move that's been made plenty of times before in the real and virtual worlds, and Yuroxoi decides, okay, I'm not going to fight that too much, because now he and O'Brien are all on their own. They have to rely on each other for maximum pace down the straights. And just to compare, Yuroxoi's last lap time was a 2:23.2. That's pretty slow for Yuroxoi. Meanwhile, a 2:21.7 for O'Brien. He made up bulk time on that lap And the battle for 8th continues here now with Walter and Hebert still fighting away through Lacombe and Malmedy. Walter winning the battle for the time being. The pit stop has been completed for Jake Vasconcelos. He was stopped for 11 seconds. And if you're taking just a straight up fuel stop, you only expect to be stopped for around 5 to 6 seconds. That's how long Kevin McPherson was stopped, 4.5. So Vasconcelos is going to have to fight his way back through this field. No cautions as well in PRL road racing. So it's going to be all down to his pace if he wants to even get into the top 3 at this point.
Yeah, so, hey, if he wins this one, that's a testament to his overall speed and skill. We'll have to see if that happens. The longer you stay out on this first stint, the smaller amount of time that you're actually going to have to spend in pit lane getting fuel, because you won't need as much to the end. As we see 2 drivers almost coming together here through the bunch of malt. That could have been, scary. That was scary. That could have been scary.
Well, Tristan Callahan getting back into the top 3 and immediately decides, I'm going to take my pit stop now. Dave Peterson follows him in. Now, early versus late pitting is something that we haven't discussed yet. I mean, tyre changes are not a factor, so a tyre undercut or overcut is not an element in the strategy of this race. But still, timing your pit stop right is essential when you've got a fuel cap like this. Do you run the tank out to its maximum, or do you pit early and decide to get the run? Meanwhile, look at that. That looked like a quicker stop there from Dave Peterson. He's actually overtaken Tristan Callahan in the pit lane.
So Callahan also had some damage from that incident that he got repaired. So that definitely played a factor. Hey, we'll see. Seconds are huge here at this track as we see a potential pass here with Peterson side by side with Callahan. Might be just top 5. It might be all that Callahan could muster up by the time this race ends as side by side. Oh, was there contact? Yep, for sure.
Yeah, there was a bit of space between the cars. Looked like some latency issues there between Callahan and Peterson, but still a little bit of a tap. Callahan not afraid to get the elbows out to get passes done here.
Yeah, not at all afraid. And, you know, why would you be afraid, right? You still need to have that killer instinct to finish in the top 5 podiums, win races. And sometimes you're going to rub drivers the wrong way if you're a little bit too aggressive on track. But what's the goal of racing, my friends? It's to win.
Yeah, exactly. As we keep an eye here on the battle between Walter and Reed, I just want to highlight that the gap between O'Brien and Urexoy has increased, and I've gone back and checked Urexoy's last lap, and I'm not quite sure where it happened. It seems like he's just had some issues in that car, and the gap for the lead is now out to 2.2 seconds, which is interesting. But O'Brien is jumping into the lane. Urexoy is going to follow him in. So it's going to be a battle of the pitters, and I think I heard David Hebert on the in-sim voice chat saying that he would go for the pits. It's going to be difficult for him to do that with 2 cars trying to go up the inside of him at the bus stop chicane. Well, Callahan moves through. Hebert goes into the pits. Peterson will follow Callahan on the racetrack, and they will resume their battle. Coming out of the lane are Urexoy and Harris. James O'Brien already out there, and that is the gap. We see that Tristan Callahan almost has a podium or the race lead back in his sights.
Yes, and we'll see if this actually comes into factor, right? Callahan could potentially catch up. 5 seconds, though, is a long, big amount of time to cut down. Of course, top 5, top 4 is potentially there. Well, it'd be 2.5 seconds, right? I do my math incorrectly. How about that? Inside move.
Oh, there we go. Immediately on the attack is Tristan Callahan, and he gets it done on Clay Harris coming into Lacombe. Nicely done there, and takes all the curb on the exit for good measure. Meanwhile, further back on the track, Hebert, Walter, and Reed. you could put a blanket over these cars right now. They're so close. And Walter trying up the inside, but you can hold the non-optimal line through these corners as Hebert is demonstrating beautifully. Look at that. The traction was there for him.
I love those quick, 3-corner left-right, left, or right-left, rights that you get in racetracks, just because they present difficult opportunities to make passes, right? You can get the inside at one, but you're also going to have to sacrifice the inside at the middle part of that 3-turn kind of an assortment of curves. And I think that's such a fascinating look at the the art of being a race car driver, right? You've got to know your compromises and maybe make a brash move through one set of corners to get the move done. I just think it's fascinating. That entire section after the Kemmel Straight is one of my favorites in racing for that reason.
Yeah, me too. But as a spectator and as a sim racer, an absolute pleasure to experience that sequence. Look at this run, meanwhile, from Joshua Reed. He absolutely nailed the exit of Stavelot, but now he doesn't have much of a draft benefit. He is close enough to Hebert to get some slipstream, but not quite enough. And Walter, taking the shorter route around these corners, will defend that position. This is the battle for 9th place. These drivers at the very end of the top 10. Meanwhile, Jake Vasconcelos, he's back on the pace, currently running in 7th and setting the fastest lap of the race. And he didn't have much in the way of slipstream on that one, so who knows what he's going to be capable of in these last few laps. Only 5.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if he just gains 7/10 on that lap, maybe there's something there. And Harris and Peterson are definitely going to be battling it out here and kind of helping Callahan pull away more from that 5th place position. Again, we move into this very fun section of this racetrack. Callahan, though, it's so hard to get moves done when you don't have a draft partner through that first sector. What he has going for him, though, Uruxoy doesn't either, as goodness me, Walter and Reed just going side by side with a bear.
Yeah, Reed giving a little tap to Brandon Walter for that very late move across to the racing line. That's another reason why that sequence is so entertaining, because you have drivers moving immediately to the braking zone, to the racing line to try and get the move done. And in cars like this, when you're as close as you are at the end of the straight, it can go either way. Fortunately, it seems they're very capable of dealing with the stress in this battle, but they're so close through Pouhon. That's incredible. I don't think I've seen many cars be able to do that, as Walter tries up the inside of Fanier now. Fast entry into this sweeping right-left S. But I think he's the pressure's getting to him a little bit here. That's the thing about being the middle car in a 3-car battle. You got to focus on attacking, yes, but you've also got to be careful behind. Reed is looking quick.
Yeah, he's looking really quick, and we've seen a lot of 3-car tangos all race long, and we're appreciative for it as we see some more side-by-side action. Walter, Reed, they are just going at it right now. The fastest section, the fastest corners of this circuit. Before we get to the bus stop, Peterson just set the fastest lap, by the way, in 5th. Oh, man. Single file here.
Yeah. And very sensible, I would imagine, considering what's happened at this sequence in previous laps. They will keep going to the bitter end, these guys. An update on Callahan, meanwhile. He remains in 4th. He's trying to catch up to Errol Uruxoy, but Dave Peterson is in the slipstream here. And that was almost contact between them. You see that Clay Harris is trying to follow them through here, and looming in the background is the YS Motorsports car of Jake Vasconcelos. That's a bit of a coming together almost between Callahan and Peterson. And they would have cost themselves a little time trying to catch up to Uruxoy here, but maybe the draft was just enough to bring the gap down. And the battle for ninth is still just as intense as it's always been. David Hebert trying to defend here. It's weaving from Brandon Walter. I don't know if you're allowed to do that, pushing the limits of what is allowed coming down the straight. Hebert moves into ninth spot.
Well, he didn't get penalized, did he? Pushed the limits, walked the tightrope, and stayed within the boundaries of what I guess is acceptable. And you move up into ninth, fifth place. Look at this battle. Front wing was almost into a left rear tire, which would have been an interesting moment for the stewards to kind of look at. We've only got 2 minutes left in this race. We may be going, I think we are going into the white flag lap as well. And O'Brien tried, but McPherson is held pretty strong. 2 seconds between he and O'Brien. Uroxoy is a further 4 seconds back. Peterson is flying though. Could we potentially see? Of course, Callahan and Harris being right there is going to be the problem.
Yeah, certainly is. And remember, this three-way battle is working to the benefit of Jake Vasconcelos, who might very well be looking at a top 5 finish here. Coming up to the white flag then with 1 minute and 24 seconds to go. Kevin McPherson is your leader by 2.5 seconds over James O'Brien. Errol Uroxoy in third. All of them completely on their own relative to everyone else. So they got to focus on their own driving. The battle continues here for ninth. Meanwhile, Brandon Walter has to give way to David Hebert on the inside, and they make contact. Hebert goes around, and that is his bid at a ninth place over.
Oh, man. Well, in a field of only now 16 drivers, a lot who have had issues, that's not going to be the way you want to see your race potentially come to a close. As we see, trying to split the difference here. Will he thread the needle? Oh, Vasconcelos, Harris was thinking about doing it. I was looking at Vasconcelos, who just went purple with the fastest lap time. He's still trying to get involved here. Could he potentially get into this 4-car battle for fourth?
I think he will. He's pretty much there right now. And if he can keep it clean through the middle sector, he will have the slipstream of all 3 of those cars coming up to Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane on the final lap. This is going to be a very entertaining finish, everybody. Make sure that you turn the volume up and get comfortable. This is going to be a fantastic finish in PRL Formula D. Maybe not for the win, but definitely for 4th place. It is a 4-way battle now.
4-way fight for P4, not podium, but top 5. 2 spots are on the table. This is unbelievable. But now there is a podium battle. Callahan has kind of just drawn back a bit into Uroxoy. I wonder if he had a bit of an issue coming onto these fast sections. I'd be shocked if in this last sector he loses 8/10 then.
All right, well, we will see as the run to the finish is now. And Dave Peterson is trying his best on Tristan Callahan right on the gearbox as we get the race over notification. Up the front in your bottom right is Kevin McPherson. Drove a fantastic race and is going to take victory here in PRL Formula D at Spa, with O'Brien in second. And Uroxoy, well, he's just safe. Callahan caught him right up at the end there. Unfortunately for Jake Vasconcelos, he could not finish in 4th, but he got ever so close. I think there's more than one driver here who is wishing that the race was 1 lap longer. Meanwhile, still on for 9th place here with Brandon Walter trying to get back past Joshua Reed, who just made the move. The position is defended and kept into the bus stop chicane, and that is all she wrote for them. Joshua Reed gets the 9th spot. Fantastic stuff. Man, what a race.
Yeah, you know, it kind of proves that even on one of the biggest tracks in the international racing world, you can have 17 drivers enter into a race and come away with just a breathtaking affair. And I was very pleased to see the level of racing that we did see. Do wish we had a bit of a battle for P1 as the race carried on, but unfortunately, just a small mistake took that away.
Yeah, indeed it did. It's all about avoiding those tiny mistakes, and if you do make them, recovering from them. We got one more car trying to come to the finish here. He is a long way off. It's CJ Conklin, who's had a very quiet race down there in the minor positions, and it looks like everyone who had to visit the pits for damage has ultimately made it back out on track. Our only retirement is Jason Potter. So I think a very good finishing record here in PRL Formula D at Spa. We'll give CJ Conklin his airtime as he makes his way down, or up rather, the Blanchimont Straight. It is a little uphill, despite the perspective sort of messing with things a little bit. This is such a big track, you often can't tell what sections are up or downhill in the sim. You might well be able to tell in real life, but to the finish, CJ Conklin will come, and it's going to be a well-driven race there. Stayed out of trouble. May have finished low down the order, but he escaped the biggest incidents that we saw up in the lead and the top 5. So with that, we can go through our results here from Spa. Kevin McPherson takes the win by 2 seconds over James O'Brien and Errol Urexoy. Callahan manages to get 3/10 on Dave Peterson, with Clay Harris and Jake Vasconcelos incredibly close for 6th and 7th. Donald Olson in 8th, with Joshua Reed and Brandon Walter rounding out the top 10. Amazing pace by Vasconcelos at the end as Jason Arensberg, David Hebert, Justin Cobb, all finish further up the order, I suppose, when it comes to the minor positions. Zach Yurt, unfortunately, with damage early on. Same for Manas and Galakaduti. CJ Conklin drove a quiet race to finish 16th, and Jason Potter hitting the wall on lap 1, unfortunately retiring and not able to make it even halfway into the race. So that will bring racing proceedings to an end. It is time for driver interviews. And of course, we have to start with our winner, Kevin McPherson. Man, Kevin, the race early on was pretty intense. You and Vasconcelos were working together to try and keep Callahan behind. Unfortunate that they both fell off.
Yeah, I was noticing the relative there on the lap times, and I was like, man, we're fighting and we're running so slow. I wonder if I'm better off on my own. So I went in the pits, and I guess Jake told me that there was a spin in front of him, and it was Tristan or something. And from there, it was just kind of a cakewalk.
Yeah, it certainly looked like Spa was very much a draft-centric track. The draft is incredibly strong in these cars. Did you feel like when you found yourself alone in your position that others might come back at you if they worked together?
Yeah, they definitely would have had a shot if they would have worked together. It seemed like the spacing was too far apart for anybody, any group to kind of get up on me. So I was just hanging out.
Yeah, well, you managed to get a victory there, and unfortunately you weren't here last week at Tsukuba, but that is still an excellent points haul for you. Could certainly still be in the running for the top 3 in the championship with your teammate by the end.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It was great racing with everybody, and thank you guys for doing the broadcasting.
Thanks very much for joining us. Kevin McPherson, race winner here at Spa-Francorchamps. Another podium for James O'Brien, stood by with Dylan Coyle for the 2nd place finish.
Yeah, James, really, really solid run right there for you. And I feel like, at the end, it seemed like you were starting to pull in a little bit. You feel like if you had 10 more minutes there, you'd potentially be able to pull out a victory?
Yeah, I thought maybe Kevin had damage or something. I wasn't sure who got into that wreck. When I got out of the pits, he was the first one to go around me, so I just wasn't sure the status of his car. But I did notice that I pulled him in about over a second, and then I made a small mistake on the last lap, so it kind of threw away most of it. But I was watching the relative. I saw it kept ticking down, and I knew, if I had more time, definitely could have had a chance, but also would have given the people behind me a chance to possibly catch up.
Well, it feels like, as this season continues to go through the motions here, you're putting in a really solid showing, a solid run last week. This time, a 2nd place finish again. I mean, we're talking about back to back, easy enough podium runs for you. You feel like you potentially could, threaten as the season goes on?
I don't want to think about that. I kind of just try to do this to have fun. I pride myself on being consistent and staying clean, trying not to make mistakes. You don't always have to be the fastest one to win. I knew that this race, I saw the top 3 were fighting really hard, and I was hoping that they'd make a mistake. And it happened, and it happened in last week as well. So I just kind of always want to be there when those situations occur. And if they don't, at least I still gave it my best.
Well, James, it's fun to see you putting at such a high level, and not just an oval series at the end of the year. Who you got to thank for tonight?
Everybody tuning in. I saw there was about 30 people watching, so that's pretty cool. You guys for putting it on. My teammate Brandon, everybody at PRL, and Private Label, Ethica, our sponsors on the NASCAR side, and then everybody on the Daytona 24 team that will be racing the Cadillac with on Saturday.
James, as always, a pleasure talking with you. Congratulations and best of luck heading forward.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff from James O'Brien there, as well as Errol Urexoy. Obviously, last week at Tsukuba didn't go too well for you, Errol, but you managed to come back for a podium finish here at Spa. You must be feeling good about that.
Yeah, the fairies in the Ardennes were smiling on me today. I capitalized on some unfortunate stuff in front of me and just kept it underneath me for the rest of the race.
Indeed. Saw some interesting stuff going on with the gaps between you and O'Brien and other people you were battling with. Was it just a case of losing the draft or making tiny mistakes that ended up making that gap ebb and flow?
Yeah, I mean, I was by myself. My teammate didn't have a great start, so we kind of got separated. So I didn't have anybody to pair up with. So they just kept pulling on me. And when I passed the wreck and one of the guys in the lead that went into the pits, I knew O'Brien was going to catch me. I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't going to be able to stave that off. So I decided to let it go gracefully and try to follow him, but I couldn't stay with him. So, yeah.
Well, regardless, 8th in the standings coming into this round, you've still got some consistent points tallies coming up here, and with a podium, that sets you up very well for the next round going into the Hungaroring, and I guess you're hoping to capitalize there.
Yeah, it's another F1 type track that I know pretty well, like Spa. So I'm looking forward to Hungaroring and maybe puts Tsukuba a little bit further behind me.
Well, we shall see. Thanks very much for joining us, Errol. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Errol Urexoy with a podium there, and certainly very happy with his performance. And I think, Dylan, we're very happy with how the racing went here at Spa today. Yeah, there were some incidents, but I think overall the action that we saw was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. The action was everything we could have hoped for. Maybe a little bit less at the end with P1, but overall, fantastic race, a great showing of what the Precision Racing League can provide with the quality of the talent in this field.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for joining us here, and make sure to mark down in your calendar next Thursday night, January 25th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Hungaroring, the next round of the Precision Racing League Formula D Series. Also, interesting note, by that point, it will be my 30th birthday. It's actually taking place on the 26th of January for me. So, happy birthday me for next week. See if we can bake a cake for that. But,
I can bake a cake. What's the closest cake shop to where you are?
Oh,
some of the details. Maybe we can do webcams on and an unveiling of the cake. Hopefully we can do that. Producer Dustin is definitely going to say yes.
At the very least, I can bake myself a little cupcake with a candle, and that'll be a nice little celebration. But thanks very much for joining me for this one, Dylan. It was fun. And thanks very much to Dustin Ollis behind the scenes for making everything happen here on the RaceSpotTV stream. Big thanks to all of the supporters and partners of the Precision Racing League, as well as PRL themselves, putting on this fantastic racing week in, week out. We broadcast all of their series here on iRacing, and you can check out our scheduled live streams for the next one. I'm Reese Gardner, Dylan Coyle with me in the comms box here on RaceSpotTV for Precision Racing League Formula D at Spa.